Good morning, I'm Maiki Oreta. From markets to policy, from Manila to the world, we cut through the noise so you can navigate, adapt, and lead. This is Business 360. All eyes are on the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas today as policymakers decide whether to extend their interest rate cuts or hit pause, a move that directly shapes borrowing costs, business expansion, and market momentum. This comes as the national government raises 107 billion pesos from the bond market, a strong show of demand that builds liquidity across the financial system. Meanwhile, political noise intensifies after a fourth impeachment complaint is filed against Vice President Sara Duterte just after she announces plans to run for president. With investors now weighing lower rates, ample liquidity, and rising political uncertainty, Jonas Ravelas, senior advisor at Reyes Tacandong and former BDO chief market strategist, joins us to break down what it all means for markets and our economy. Markets are closely watching the Bangko Sentral, which is set to deliver its monetary policy decision this afternoon. Economists are expecting a rate cut of 25 basis points, which would bring the interest rate to around 4.25%. For businesses and households, a rate cut could mean lower borrowing costs and a potential boost to investment and spending, though the central bank may still hold if it sees risks to the peso or signs that growth could pick up without additional stimulus. Early signals from the market are already pointing to strong expectations for a rate cut. Now, the Bureau of Treasury sold 107.07 billion in 10-year bonds on the back of strong demand. Auction data shows tenders reached more than 328.45 billion pesos, more than thrice the programmed offer. But the Treasury accepted only a portion of its 300 billion pesos offer. The bonds will mature in 2036, carrying a coupon rate and average yield lower than the previous auction. Now, the National Treasurer, Sharon Almanza, attributed the strong demand to expectations of a rate cut. The BSP's 7-day term deposits also decreased on rate cut expectations. Strong demand for fixed income investments continues, with investors showing growing appetite for environmental, social, and governance, or ESG and development-focused bonds. The LandBank of the Philippines has raised 50 billion pesos from its agriculture, sustainability, environment, and socio-economic development, or Asenso bond offer, with the sale closing early after being oversubscribed. Bonds are listed on the Philippine Dealing and Exchange Corporation, allowing investors to trade them in the secondary market, providing liquidity even before maturity. Proceeds will help finance projects supporting farmers, communities, and small businesses, as well as programs that promote economic opportunity and more inclusive, sustainable growth. The strong take-up from both retail and institutional investors points to healthy liquidity in the local market and rising interest in environmental, social, and governance, or ESG-linked and development-focused investments. LandBank President CEO Lynette Ortiz says that this is also the first corporate bond offer in the country available for direct purchase through a mobile app, expanding access and marking a new level of retail participation in the bond market. As the Philippines pushes to build investor confidence and attract long-term capital, the Maharlika Investment Corporation moves to strengthen its leadership bench. The fund appoints Rolando Peñaflor as regular director and Enrico Cruz as independent director, adding more private sector and governance experience to its board. Peñaflor, former senior vice president for corporate banking at the Bank of the Philippine Islands, will serve a 3-year term. Cruz, meanwhile, brings experience from multiple public and private company boards, adding an independent voice to the fund's decision-making. Maharlika Investment Corporation President and CEO Rafael Consing Jr. says their appointments will help advance the fund's push for stronger discipline, transparency, and global credibility. The corporation also names Roderick Sacro, Executive Vice President of LandBank, as the bank's alternate representative to the investment corporation as the sovereign fund continues to build out its core team and governance structure. Now, political noise is intensifying, adding another layer of uncertainty for markets and investors already watching the road to 2028. The fourth impeachment complaint is filed against Vice President Sara Duterte, just as she signals plans to run for president in the next election cycle. Earlier Wednesday, the Vice President expressed dismay over the current administration amid the widening flood control controversy.
Sa unang mga buwan ng aming mga termino, nakita ko na ang kawalan ng katapatan ni Bongbong Marcos Jr. sa mga pangakong binitawan noong kampanya. Pati na sa kanyang sinumpaang tungkulin para sa bayan. Mga kababayan, humihingi ako ng paumanhin. Patawad kung tinulungan ko mahalal si BBM bilang Pangulo ng ating bansa. Patawad kung hanggang ngayon ay marami pa ring Pilipino ang nalulunod sa baha ng dahil sa malawakang korupsyon. Ako si Sara Duterte, tatakbo bilang Pangulo ng Pilipinas. Shukran.
Hours after that statement, the fourth impeachment complaint was filed before the office of the House Secretary General by lawyer Nathaniel Cabrera. The complaint cites grounds including an alleged threat against the president, alleged misuse of confidential funds, failure to fully declare assets and liabilities, bribery, and conduct allegedly inconsistent with the duties and dignity of the office. Meanwhile, the first three impeachment complaints remain pending at the office of the House Speaker, with lawmakers given until March 2nd to include them in the House plenary's order of business. Now, for business and investors, the developments keep political risk front and center at a time when markets are already weighing interest rate moves, capital flows, and the policy outlook heading towards 2028. Now, the business sector is taking a wait-and-see approach as attention turns to Vice President Sara Duterte's potential 2028 presidential run. Companies are looking for clear economic plans before offering any support. On BNC's Business Brief, Mike Oreta, chief economist at Rizal Commercial Banking Corporation, says detailed policy platforms and specific economic reforms will be key factors for the business community.
Reforms also pertaining, of course, to business, to economy, to the fiscal performance, debt management, in how to narrow the budget deficit, peace and order. It's, well, a lot of those, the common concern of the people, in the prices, inflation, livelihood, investments, a lot of those long lists of the wish list of the business sector.
Rickerford adds many business groups typically keep political support private, as maintaining neutrality helps protect their operations and investments. For now, business priorities remain focused on economic growth, policy stability, and improving living standards for Filipinos.
Not all of them are keen on broadcasting whoever's they will support, because sometimes it's for their business interest to be kind of impartial and quiet about it. If there will be contributions.
Early moves toward the 2028 presidential race are beginning to take shape, but the opposition says its own timeline remains firm. This even after Vice President Sara Duterte's early signals of a presidential bid. Senator Risa Ontiveros says that the opposition coalition is staying on course with its build-up and candidate selection process. Ontiveros, who has said she is open to serving as a united opposition standard-bearer if chosen, says their slate could be announced by year-end or by early 2027.
Sabi ng mga paborito nating mga philosophers, tayo po ay may free will, so gamitin po natin. Yung common values na nahanap namin sa aming hanay, no? Yung pagnanais para sa anti-corruption and good governance, yung pag-grow at pag-share ng bunga ng ating mas malakas na ekonomiya, isang tunay na pagkakaisa sa ating divided at polarized na lipunan, of course, pambansang soberanya, at iba pa.
Amid early political positioning across camps, the opposition says its focus remains on policy reforms and on consolidating support within its ranks. Ontiveros also says she's preparing for the possibility that impeachment complaints against the vice president could eventually reach the Senate.
Ako, ngayon pa lang, hinahanda ko ang sarili ko sa posibilidad na may umabot na impeachment complaints dito. If and when that happens, magsisilbi ako bilang Senator Judge at klaro sa akin yung tungkulin sa akin doon.
The Makati Business Club is calling for a stronger anti-political dynasty law, saying proposed measures should cover relatives up to the fourth degree of consanguinity or affinity. On BNC's agenda, Makati Business Club Executive Director Apa Ongpin says political dynasties are not, quote, per se bad, but have often been used systematically to monopolize power, particularly in local communities.
Nakasulat naman sa Constitution natin na kailangan maghain ng isang anti-dynasty law. Dapat na natin gawin ito. It's been 30 years, 30 taon na mula nung naisulat ang 1987 Constitution. So, para sa amin, we need a strong anti-dynasty law. Kailangan namin ng totoong anti-dynasty law.
Ongpin also expresses support for Senator Risa Ontiveros' anti-dynasty bill, saying a broad measure is needed to break long-standing political control. He notes that the proposal could cover even well-regarded officials, including Pasig Mayor Vico Soto, but says that the principle of reform should apply across the board. We're taking a quick break. Coming up, we'll make sense of the key economic and political signals now shaping markets, investment flows, and business sentiment. Top analyst Jonas Ravelas joins us for that discussion. Keep it here on Business 360. Welcome back. Today, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas is set to announce its policy rate decision, with analysts widely expecting a cut to 4.25%, the lowest in over 3 years. The Philippine economy slowed sharply in the fourth quarter, growing just 3%, while inflation remains within the BSP's 2 to 4% target at 2%. Adding another layer of uncertainty, Vice President Sara Duterte just announced that she will run for president in 2028 amid ongoing impeachment complaints and ICC proceedings related to her father's administration. Jonas Ravelas, former chief market strategist at BDO and now senior advisor at Reyes Tacandong, joins us to break down what these developments mean for markets, business, and everyday Filipinos. Hi, Jonas. Thanks for being here with us.
Good morning, Maiki. Good morning to your listeners.
Okay, Jonas, it's going to be all about interest rates today for the most part, with growth front and center. Expectations are for another 25 bips cut. What are your thoughts on what the BSP's monetary board will be doing later on this afternoon?
Well, I'm on the camp of a 25 basis point cut to probably support growth. I think this is something that the market has appears to have anticipated at this point in time.
Yeah, it seems to have been priced in. So, Jonas, if the BSP cuts 25 basis points, as is expected, what are they telling us about the growth, and about the risks ahead?
Well, basically, I guess the key idea is that, one, inflation is manageable. At the same time, it offers the possibility that they could further cut policy rates still by another quarter, given that inflation is appears to be manageable at this time. So there's been a shift from an inflation pressure to probably more of growth, to probably bring us back to the 5 to 6% growth level. So this could probably be more of a nudge rather than a push. To the economy.
Yeah, and Jonas, as you said in a previous interview, you can take the horse to water, but you can't force it to drink. So over this, since August 2024, we've seen a collective 200 basis point cuts already. Are we seeing the effects on borrowing, investments, and confidence?
Well, basically, we've actually seen rates coming down. It's just that the transmission isn't as fast as we want it to be. At the same time, the banks are a bit cautious given the global and domestic environment. So you have the accountability issues, domestic, and eventually policy uncertainty and geopolitics on the external front. So that's really I think the market in itself has really been more of cautious at this point in time.
Yeah, with a problem being confidence, it's a big part of the issues we face. Could this be the last cut in the BSP cycle after we see a 25 bips cut today? What are your thoughts on what the BSP is going to do for the balance of the year?
Well, basically, it's actually looking at probably a total of 50 basis point cut for this year. So anticipation of probably another in the second quarter should eventually ensure that we'd probably go back to the 5% to 6% growth level, especially after the third and fourth quarter GDP numbers have missed the target. So definitely they want to ensure that growth will most likely have picked up.
Okay, with 50 basis cuts, 50 bips cuts in 2026, the BSP still has other tools in its arsenal. Do you think it's going to go for more measures?
Well, I at this point in time, probably they will reserve the the reserve cuts later on the year once we get to see more signs that the economy needs more nudge. But again, from the last time we had the chat, we heard the government through Secretary Go about the big bold reform. So the 1.4 trillion that they plan to spend in the first quarter should actually provide the momentum to eventually try to bring us to closer to the 5% this year.
Okay, now let's talk about what it means for our markets. The 25 bips cut is expected across the board. So people have already discounted, they've priced that in. So any reactions are expected to be muted. That said, Jonas, how do you think a 25 bips cut will affect equities, bonds, and the peso?
Well, basically, I think we've seen the rebound towards the 6,500. I think the market will probably the market has already digested these 25 basis points. I think the key moving forward, will inflation stay above 2%? Personally, I'm looking at 2.4% for the first quarter of the year. So again, these are probably driven by the elevated oil prices, currency volatilities. So the other thing is people will want to see how this government infra spending will pick up. So that's what I think the market will be waiting for.
Okay, taking a look at this environment, lower interest rates, manageable inflation. This is the recipe for growth for the Philippine Stock Exchange. But, it's been muted. The PSE is also, the SEC and the PSE are also pushing for reforms such as global Philippine depository receipts, and perhaps they're even studying a dedicated innovation or tech board. What's it going to take to lift the index?
Okay, I think you have to understand that at this point in time, we have a very strong capital market. Of course, there is equity and there is debt. When people talk about the strength of the equity markets, then is that at that time in the 90s, interest rates were double digits, high single digit. But today, interest rates are much lower, and most likely the preferred product would most likely be debt, loans or bonds at this point in time. Now, for equities, you must have a very good, compelling story to probably deliver a long-term view. And not all of the potential or those that have listed have actually very good story to tell. And right now, despite the fact that we have low interest rates, again, one of the key issues is governance, and we want to address this issue of governance.
Okay, speaking of governance, Jonas, Vice President Sara Duterte just announced her presidential bid. This puts the political cycle back on the radar. From a business standpoint, what do early political signals like this mean for the markets?
Oh, well, I guess this is actually a very good signal that we're already in the year of the fire horse. So the race have started. So the race for 2028 has started, and you have to understand that we're faced with a lot of uncertainty, both here and abroad, brought about by policy uncertainty and geopolitics. So both parties, whether it's the vice president or administration, this is their opportunity between now and 2028 to either prepare themselves what they will do to be able to bring the economy back to the 5 to 6% or much higher, and tell the public. At the same time, it is also a signal to the administration that they need to speed up
Yes.
to ensure that they will end in victory by the end of 2028, that they were able to run the race in such a way that they've created a growth
Yeah, exactly.
recovery.
Yeah, Jonas, I wanted to ask you about that. The emerging tandem is Vice President Sara Duterte plus Amy Marcos. With this, what's the message to the administration? What's the onus? What do you think this signals to the administration?
Well, to me, the signal is pure and simple. Do your job. You need to finish. You need to do the necessary things to speed up growth, improve the position of the Philippines from where we are. So it's really ensuring that we continue with what the president ran on. Basically, focus on continued build better more to ensure fiscal consolidation, and eventually growing the economy at 5 to 6%. And I think that the message is to really press on what they've already started a month ago when they talked about the big, bold reforms.
Jonas, apart from that, are we lacking on the accountability front? Because that's something that could spur confidence.
Okay, I think at this point in time, a lot of people are waiting for the developments from the DOJ and from the investigations. So I think this is something that the public is waiting patiently, and hopefully we get to see somebody jailed. More cases have been filed. Whether it happens this March or this happens within the year, I think we are all waiting for that accountability issue. Despite the this year is really characterized by a lot of policy uncertainty, meaning due to whether it's global or domestic, we need to face this with resilience and tenacity.
Yeah.
So this is what we need to be able to do. And the government, realizing what happened in the last 2 quarters, they're starting to prepare 2026 with the big, bold reforms, and hopefully the execution of these reforms and the spending should ensure that the trusting game of the public will come back.
Right, and amidst this environment, businesses and investors, everybody wants growth. On that front, I want to talk to you about the IPO pipeline. Specifically, there are reports that digital bank Maya could pursue up to a $1 billion IPO in the U.S., while Gcash is reportedly delaying its listing. What does this tell you about the state of our capital markets, Jonas?
Well, basically, I think it's really about trying to encourage people to invest. right now, if we talk about the valuations, they're quite compelling. Dividend yields are probably between 5 to 6.5%. And that's actually a good level. And at the same time, PEs are actually low single digit. And this is already where, buyers should start coming in. It's just that people are waiting for, it's a sentiment driven play. When
Yeah.
people start seeing accountability, then they'll start positioning. But this potential IPOs, particularly on fintech, since they're quite new here in the Philippines, uh, in the other markets, in other developed markets, there's a lot of players, investors who are very much into this fintech place, and the appreciation of investors are much higher in developed economies compared to here in the Philippines.
So you're saying, Jonas, for a fintech IPO, the appreciation would perhaps be better overseas than here at home?
Yes, mainly because they have better tools and benchmarks to compare with, rather than here you're just either one or the second. So it's very difficult to compare yourself. So having a comparison with other counters outside the Philippines could actually give you a better edge, especially when you're a country that is consumption driven. So those are, I think, one of the things that could, put the Philippines back into the map
Yeah.
because of this consumption driven play
Yes.
compared to other countries.
Yeah, any moves like that would lift our flag in other markets and perhaps redirect capital, or just put us more on the radar of investors. Jonas, but I also wanted to ask you, when top firms need to consider listing overseas instead of locally, what does that tell you about where we are today?
Oh, well, basically, I guess it's really looking at where opportunities are at this point in time. But again, here, there are, once you have a good, compelling story, sure, you can do an IPO here. There's no problem. It's just that at this point in time, governance issue has plagued the market. But once we start seeing movements from the top 10 listed companies that they continue their capex, and eventually we see government spending again, then definitely people will start to see the uh, growth momentum. They'll feel it in the money velocity when money moves from one hand to the other at a faster rate. Then people will start feeling that, oh, we're back in business.
Yeah.
That sentiment is what people are trying to wait for. But until we get to see more signs, then definitely people will stay on the sidelines.
Yeah, but still, people are looking for opportunities. For anyone even looking to invest modest amounts in the stock market today, what should they be watching most closely, Jonas?
Well, I think just like what I said, we're already looking at a level where you have low inflation. We're starting to see government, and again, we're one of the big stories in the region that is doing an infrastructure catch up. So that's actually a good sign. What we need to be able to do is that these potential spendings will be translated to reliable infrastructure. At the same time, once the rest of the market, the listed companies will continue with their capex, then definitely people will start slowly looking into the markets. However, the challenge really are, again, one of the things that we don't talk about today. It hasn't really entered our news cycle, is the tariffs. There's still the issue of the tariff, the tariff of Trump. So that could again create a dampener, and at the same time the geopolitics. So probably until the first quarter, we'll get to see what the global and domestic picture will look like. Then definitely, probably by then, we could see more confidence in our local markets, and probably see businesses starting to move by then.
Yeah, definitely a lot of moving parts here at home and overseas to take into account. Jonas Rovelas, Senior Advisor at Reyes Tacandong, thank you so much for being here with us this morning.
Thank you for having me, Maiki. Thank you.
Okay, we're taking a quick break. More business stories and the signals behind them when Business 360 continues. Welcome back. As power demand continues to rise and energy security remains a top concern, the Department of Energy is moving to open up new coal areas for investment, despite the country's long-term push towards cleaner energy. The agency will launch a bid round for coal areas with verified reserves, including blocks currently operated by Semirara Mining and Power Corporation, the country's largest coal producer. The Department of Energy says that the auction will cover 3 coal areas comprising 18 blocks across Antique, Isabela, and Cagayan. Interested parties will have 60 days to submit applications following a pre-submission conference, with the bid round set to open on February 27. As power demand continues to climb across the provinces, electric cooperatives are locking in new supply deals to keep local economies running and to avoid disruptions. AboitizPower Corporation has signed a contract to supply 30 megawatts of electricity to the Northern Negros Electric Cooperative, or NONECO, drawing from both solar and baseload generation. The supply includes 10 megawatts from Aboitiz Solar Power and 20 megawatts from GN Power, Mariveles Energy Center, providing a balanced mix of renewable and reliable energy. NONECO serves multiple municipalities and cities in Negros Occidental, with the additional capacity expected to support business activity, local industry, and household demand across the province. Uncertainty is building over the future of the country's largest coal producer, with Semirara Mining and Power Corporation now preparing a new mine plan as its operating contract nears expiry. Set to expire in 2027, SMPC is seeking a 13-year renewal of its coal operating contract for Semirara Island in Antique, covering about 55 square kilometers. But Energy Secretary Sharon Garin says that the contract cannot simply be renewed and will need to go through a competitive bidding process. SMPC, for its part, says it has yet to receive formal notice from the Department of Energy. For now, mining shipments and power generation continue unchanged as the company moves to preserve financial flexibility while awaiting clarity on its contract. The government is stepping up its presence in the West Philippine Sea with a fresh push to develop infrastructure and tourism in the Kalayaan Island Group. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has directed Public Works Secretary Vince Dizon to conduct an inspection of the area as officials explore ways to boost access and economic activity. The move comes after Kalayaan Municipal Tourism Office launched limited 9-day 8-night guided tour packages for February 2026, aimed at opening the remote island group to controlled tourism. Kalayaan Municipality was created in 1978 under Palawan by a decree from former President Ferdinand Marcos Sr. to support development and tourism in the area. The president has ordered an assessment on the possible construction of a seaport and airport project seen as key to expanding tourism, supporting livelihoods, and strengthening the country's presence in the region. Infrastructure spending, a key driver of growth, jobs, and business confidence, has come under pressure, prompting government and the private sector to move to speed up project delivery and contractor payments. The Department of Public Works and Highways has partnered with the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry to launch a green lane for legitimate contractors aimed at cutting red tape and restoring momentum in public construction. The initiative comes as public construction activity fell 42% in the fourth quarter of 2025, a decline that weighed on economic growth and delayed key infrastructure projects. Officials say that the green lane will fast-track requirements and help ensure contractors are paid on time. Authorities add the mechanism is also designed to rebuild trust, promote fair competition, and reduce corruption and administrative hurdles for contractors working on government projects. Now, Maya, one of the country's leading digital financial services platforms, says it will not comment on reports of a possible U.S. IPO. The company, which offers e-wallets, digital banking, payments, and lending services to consumers and businesses, says its focus remains on expanding its ecosystem here in the country. It adds that it is well capitalized and backed by strong shareholder support. The statement follows reports that Mai is considering a potential U.S. listing, one that could raise between $500 million and $1 billion US, with details still under discussion. Ayala Land Premier, the luxury residential arm of listed developer Ayala Land, has broken ground on a new high-end tower in Makati after recording 10.4 billion pesos in sales since its 2025 launch, signaling continued demand for prime urban property despite interest rates. Now, the project, called Lorian Residences, will offer units from suites to 4-bedroom homes and forms part of the 1.3-hectare De La Rosa Gardens development in the Makati Central Business District. The tower will rise along Paseo de Rojas and De La Rosa Street near major office and retail hubs, including the Bank of the Philippine Islands headquarters, Ayala Triangle Gardens, Greenbelt, and One Ayala. The groundbreaking comes as property developers continue to test demand in the high-end residential segment, where buyers have remained more resilient to borrowing costs and market volatility. Now, the Philippines emerges as the most exposed in ASEAN to generative artificial intelligence disruption, according to a new International Labor Organization report. The study finds that the country ranks above Indonesia, Thailand, and Vietnam in AI vulnerability, with about 27% of the workforce, or some 12.7 million Filipino workers, potentially affected, while only a small share face direct job losses. Many roles are expected to undergo significant task automation and transformation, reshaping how work gets done across industries. Women and younger workers are seen as most at risk, with exposure highest in urban economic hubs, including Metro Manila, Central Luzon, and Calabarzon. The International Labor Organization is urging governments and businesses to step up digital skills, training, reskilling programs, and support for companies as the labor market adapts to the AI shift. On another front, global diplomatic tensions are resurfacing, with potential implications for trade, energy, and investor sentiment, as allies push back against new initiatives from U.S. President Donald Trump. The Vatican has declined to join Trump's proposed Board of Peace, saying international conflicts should continue to be handled through the United Nations. Cardinal Pietro Parolin says that the Holy See will not participate because of the board's, quote, particular nature, as it prepares to hold its first meeting in Washington to discuss Gaza's reconstruction. The move highlights continued fragmentation in global diplomacy, a key factor closely watched by energy markets and investors monitoring Middle East stability and rebuilding efforts. Meanwhile, Denmark's King Frederik has arrived in Greenland in a show of unity following Trump's renewed push to acquire the Arctic island. The visit comes as Greenland, Denmark, and the United States hold talks to ease tensions after Trump's remarks on possible U.S. control of the territory. The Arctic region is emerging as a strategic hotspot for shipping routes, energy, and critical minerals, making any shift in control or diplomatic alignment a key issue for global business. We're taking a quick break. More stories and the context behind them when Business 360 returns. Let's take a quick look at how global financial markets performed overnight. Wall Street ended higher, lifted by gains in Nvidia, Amazon, and other tech heavyweights amid artificial intelligence jitters.
The interesting thing about the technology sector as a whole going up, meaning software and hardware, very different than what you've seen year to date. Year to date, you've seen software companies get hammered, down 24%, the IGV index, versus hardware index, let's say XLK, ETF down only 3%. Today you're seeing both go up radically. That could be, hey, people just want to get in on the action. There's some speak about many different things, and there's a little bit of press going on about the big CapEx spending that has been happening in the industry in general. So interesting day from that perspective.
The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 0.3%, the S&P 500 up by 0.6%, and the Nasdaq higher by 0.8%. Over in Europe, markets also ended in the green. The UK's FTSE 100 higher by 1.2%, Germany's DAX up by 1.1%, and France's CAC 40 higher by 0.8%. Let's take a look at the Philippine Stock Exchange. As of 10:18 this morning, the PSE index is trading to the upside, higher by 0.3% to 64.13. Volume, 155 million shares changing hands there, valued at 853 million pesos. Market breadth, we've got it's bullish. We've got 88 advancers, 59 decliners, and 56 stocks unchanged. Taking a look at the currency front, the peso opened at 57.88 to the dollar, down from its previous close of 57.86. Now let's check on how Asian markets are doing this morning. Right now, the Nikkei 225 is trading to the upside, higher by 0.8%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index up by 0.5%. Shanghai's Composite going the other way, down by 1.3%. And Singapore's Straits Times Index higher by 1%. In other news, in Hollywood, staff of the Writers Guild of America are walking the picket line, accusing their own organization of union busting. Protesters gathered outside the Writers Guild of America West headquarters, saying they remain without a contract as talks continue to stall. They allege management fired a key organizer after learning of the union drive, and they're accusing leadership of negotiating in bad faith for months. The strike involves Guild staff, not Hollywood screenwriters, and is not expected to disrupt film and television production as the major industry walkout did in 2023. Elsewhere in the world, in Barcelona, a new street mural honoring Puerto Rican musician Bad Bunny and his cultural Super Bowl halftime moment is drawing crowds and boosting foot traffic in the city center. The mural, titled America and created by artist Alberto Leon, depicts Bad Bunny holding a football alongside the line, "Together we are America." He stands next to a young boy representing his younger self, while U.S. President Donald Trump appears nearby with pigeons perched on his head. Tourists and locals have been stopping to take photos, turning the artwork into a social media hotspot and an unexpected draw for nearby cafes, shops, and tourism businesses. The display highlights how pop culture, sports, and street art continue to drive city marketing and creative economies across major global tourist hubs. Now, Filipino talent takes center stage at New York Fashion Week as Miss Universe Philippines 2019 Gazini Ganados, along with some of the country's top designers, bring Filipino creativity to the global runway. Beyond style and glamour, the showcase highlights the growing global market for Filipino fashion, from couture and textiles to creative exports and brand collaborations. Let's take a closer look in this report from our U.S. correspondent, Don Tagara.
Miss Universe Philippines 2019 Gazini Ganados made her first walk at the New York Fashion Week, wearing this Filipino design by Steadfast Creative Arts Productions. Ganado says, even before becoming a beauty queen, she has always set her sights on walking in the prestigious New York Fashion Week.
Well, it is definitely a proud and a momentous moment for me. I've been modeling even before I became a beauty queen, so this has been a dream of mine. Generally, this was my first dream before being a Miss Universe. So I am just fulfilling my childhood dream.
Aside from walking for Steadfast Couture at the World Fashion Expo by High Tech Moda, on Valentine's Day, Ganados also walked for two other Filipino designers. For Washington, D.C.-based Toshimi Pakumbala, and to showcase Lynette Couture's sartorial masterpiece.
Here, it's really fast-paced. Everything happens so fast. In the Philippines, I only get one dress, particularly in one night. But in here, I've done 4 dresses in one day.
Meanwhile, for singer and actor Chard Ocampo, known for his role as Will in the Netflix movie What If, this marks his first ever modeling gig, and it happened at the New York Fashion Week runway with this beauty queen. Fun fact, Ocampo is cousins with season 26 The Voice winner, Sofronia Vasquez.
It's a proud moment, Miss Universe Philippines yan eh. Gazini Ganados yan. So, parang, kanina nga sa backstage nag-usap kami, sabi ko, Gazini, kinakabahan ako. I-guide mo naman ako. Parang nung rumampa na kaming dalawa, sabi niya, okay, relax ka lang.
For these designers, New York Fashion Week has not only provided them with a platform to showcase Filipino fashion by Filipino designers, but also to uplift the models.
For me, it's a blessing to be bringing designers from the Philippines and representing Filipinos in the New York Fashion Week.
I inspired others to dream big.
As a designer, I will continue to empower and help other models to pursue their dreams.
For many of the designers and models, the New York Fashion Week Spring Collection has just concluded, but they are already planning for the Fall Fashion Week and the Big Apple. Don Tagala, Bilyonaryo News Channel, New York.
And that's it for Business 360. I'm Maiki Oreta. Thank you for joining us and keep it here on DNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.